Hey everybody, today we are taking a look at Formula E, a racing game in which you are sitting atop a massive elephant, barreling down the track, trying to cross that finish line first. I am a big fan of racing games, especially with a really cool theme like this. So, is this one of the ones that can go toe-to-toe with some of my favorites? Let's find out. To set up the game, the first thing you'll do is you'll pick which side of the board you're playing with. One side is for 3 or 4 players, the other side for 5 or 6 players. You are going to set up these holy cow tokens on the board, on the spaces that they say they go, and you're also going to set up the little mouse token here, who is adorable, on the first mouse hole there. Each player will get a hand of 6 cards, and from the start player, from the last player in reverse order, the players will place out their tokens there, their elephants. And then you're ready to begin. On your turn, you have one of 3 options. You can either play a single card from your hand, any card you want. You can play 2 cards as long as they are 1 yellow, like this one, and 1 green, so not the purples. On the third thing you can do is you can discard as many cards as you want to, and then draw back up. And you draw back up no matter which choice you did to your hand size. Let me explain real quick how the elephants move so that you understand how that works. It's a very important part of the game. Basically, if I play a card, let's say I'm playing yellow, and I play this card which says I get to move 7, then that elephant is going to move straight up as far as it can and only changing lanes when it cannot do anything else. So for example, if it starts here, it'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. It cannot keep going up. So it would shift a lane 5, 6, 7. So that's how the elephant would move. And that includes any other obstacles as well. So another elephant in front of it, it cannot push it. It would move sideways and waste a turn. And the holy cows are also obstacles which the elephants cannot push. So, let me explain how the cards themselves work so you have a better idea of the kind of things you'll be able to do during the game, the sort of tricks you'll be able to pull. So first of all, I already showed you this kind of card here, which is the elephant movement. These are higher than the green ones because you have to play them alone. So there's that one. You also have the green ones, which have typically lower numbers, 3s, 4s, 5s, and these are also movement cards. You have this card here, which is a charge card, and you play this with a green card, and it lets you shove everything in front of you. You can move cows, you can move elephants. Charge card. You also have these flying carpets, which also you play with a movement card, a green one, and lets you fly over everything in front of you. So again, cows and elephants. You have to land in an empty space. You have the mango juice here. And the mango juice you play with a green card, and you don't have to waste a turn to move sideways. So basically you can move diagonally with this. So I can go 1 and 2 corner to corner, 3 corner to corner, so on. Lets you squeeze in between, because I guess your elephant is smothered in mango juice. We also have here a mouse card. The mouse card, when you play it, is going to let you move that little mouse token on the board. It has a 6 right there. What that means is you can move the mouse 6 spaces. He can go from one hole to the next one, to the next one. He can do that for 1 single point, and then he can move on the board itself for points. So let's say, for instance, I have this this elephant is here. I can play that card and go 1 to here, 2, 3, and for 4 he would move in there, and whenever a mouse shares a space with an elephant, it would scare it and it'd move it back 3 spaces, shoving anything behind it farther back. So you can push people back that way. You also have this holy cow card, which has an 8 up here, and that's going to let you move the holy cows, which are basically obstacles, on the board and block people in, that sort of thing. Over here we have a monkey card. The monkey card, when you play it, you get to steal 2 cards from someone else's hand at random. We have this card, which is called the prayer card, and the prayer card is going to let you look through the discard pile and take any one card you want to out of it. Here we have the Cobra Charmer, Snake Charmer, and he is going to, when you play him, he will give a player of your choice one of these Cobra tokens, which basically reduce your hand size. The player who's been bitten by the snake, their hand size will go down. And then lastly, we have this one, which is the Tiger. And the Tiger has two uses. You can play it on your turn, and you cancel a card as it comes into play from someone else. When you play it on your turn, it gets rid of all your snakes. And when you play it on someone else's turn, hence why it's a red card, then you cancel a card as it comes into play. So even out of turn, if someone over there plays a card, and I'm not too happy with that, I can go, boom, nope, that one's done, and it takes no effect. So that's basically it. You're going to continue playing cards, moving around the board, trying to set up blocks for other people, trying to get in their way. As you can see, sometimes the track gets really tight. You have a single lane like that. And the first player who crosses the finish line, the thick red line there, is the winner of Formula E. So there you have it, Formula E. The E, of course, standing for Heffalump. The game has its pros and cons. Let me get some of the negatives out of the way first. For one thing, I really am not a big fan of the pieces here. I thought they were really cheaply made. I'm not a big fan of the way they feel. They just don't feel as sturdy as some of the other games coming out these days. Secondly, I am not a big fan of some of the artwork, only because it's not very functional. Some of the spaces on the board are actually too small to fit the entire elephant figure. And that just seems sloppy and like a weird oversight. Speaking of oversight, the board, as I mentioned, has two sides. A side for 3 or 4 players, a side for 5 and 6 players, except it doesn't say that anywhere on the board or anywhere in the rulebook. The rulebook simply says, pick the side for 3 or 4, or pick the side for 5 or 6. But you don't know which it is. So I had to go online and find out, oh yeah, it doesn't actually say it on the board. This is the side. That's a weird thing to overlook. It's very useful information. I kind of need to know what side of the board to play on so that the game is, in fact, balanced. That aside, the cards are pretty well made. I do like the quality of these. I think they're fairly well made. They're not real sturdy or anything, and the cardboard is a little thin, but the artwork is nice. They're very functional. They're well laid out. I think they're nicely printed. They're bright. I'm not sure I like the idea of this being the whole deck of cards and getting this many blank cards in the deck. Not sure why these couldn't have had something on them, but you do get a ton of blank cards in the game. Anyway, all that aside, I do enjoy the game quite a bit. I think the game is a really fun racing game with a unique theme, a unique racing mechanism in which you just have to barrel right straight down, and then only when you hit something can you move over, unless you play those cards that let you move over. I like the hand management in the game. I think is interesting. Everything just works. I like the mean stuff in the game as well. Most racing games, the most you can do is basically jump in front of someone, but in this one you can actively hurt other players, which you might not like, and if you don't like that confrontation, then you know to avoid it. But I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought the monkey card that lets you steal cards, and especially the snake charmer that gives you the Cobra tokens, are really fun cards to slap down on that player that seems to be running away with it and try to pull them back. So overall, I like the game. It's a game I am keeping, but I wish the production was stronger. I think it was sloppily handled, and some of these oversights should have been avoided. Really, it should have been fairly easy to catch something like, hey, we need to put on the board how many players should play the game on this side. The game was on Kickstarter. It just barely made the funding goal by a few $100s. And they attempted to do a second edition of the game, and that one actually failed, sadly, because I would have loved to have seen it come back into print, maybe with some of those fixes included. But as I said, sadly, this is the only one that was printed so far. But if you are able to find a copy and that sounds exciting to you, I would recommend that you go out and pick up a copy of Formula E.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.